Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls. I'm your host, Patricia Baker, and I'm here with the lovely PK all the way from Tucson. And we have such a very important guest tonight, do we not, huh, PK?
Yes, we definitely do.
I've been looking forward to this show for months. And I'm so happy to be able to introduce you to a truly talented therapist who is an expert in brain spotting. Before we do that, however, we need to check in with you, PK. What's going on with the numbers? What are we in for?
Well, sweetness, everything's about family situations, but alternative medicines and things of that nature are hot on the list all month long. And
Perfect.
today is a 7 Universal Day, so it's all about secrets being made known, different types of therapy, learning how to work with different things, and secrets can pop out today. So whether we're
Ooh.
looking for it or not, we might be surprised.
Oh, goody. I love it when secrets pop out.
Oh, and not only that, it's an excellent day for teaching as well as learning. Couldn't ask for a better show.
That's right. Oh, my goodness. This is wonderful.
Mhm.
Very exciting. Well,
Everything worked together perfectly.
It it really came together, except for my Yeti microphone, which crapped
Well,
out this
we're
morning.
both still working on this. I've got this on because I've got the other turned down.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
ah,
I know.
lessons to be learned.
We're trying to improve our sound. So, anyways,
Right.
I have an affirmation that's really fun for everybody to try.
Okay.
Okay. This is how you talk to your mind because the brain operates a little differently than we always thought. Here's a good one. Show me how fast you can make me healthy.
Oh,
Like that?
I like that.
Show me how fast you can make me wealthy.
I like that better as well.
Show me how fast I can receive love.
Very good topics, my dear.
I just love these because they're easy to remember. You can say them
Mhm.
anytime. And you and I were talking about when you catch yourself having negative thoughts and that's just running and running and running like it always does. You can stop yourself and introduce these affirmations.
I think that's an excellent way to go.
I think so too. Yep.
Beautiful.
It's easy. I like easy.
I do. Oh, I do too. I'm going to carry a cheat sheet with me, the palm of my hand. Okay, that's what it says.
That's right. That's what I'm saying to myself. Okay, so let me tell you about our wonderful guest tonight. Kim Ludeman is a certified brain spotting practitioner and empowerment coach, as well as a brain spotting consultant. So she's received extra training on top of being certified. She supports clients around the world, helping them move through subconscious blocks that keep them feeling stuck. Her passion is to empower people to increase their capacity for presence, success, and fulfillment. She has supported clients in her private practice since 2018. So she's been doing this a long time.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
yes. Now, Kim is also the host of the Captivatingly Confident podcast, a show about being you bravely. She is also the founder of Reveal Retreats, where she provides life changing events that bring women together to heal, grow, and make incredible shifts. Kim is a mom of two young children. I don't know how she does all this, and has been married to her husband for 17 years. They live outside of Portland, Oregon, and you can find Kim trail running, backpacking,
Oh my
hiking.
goodness.
Don't you feel lazy hearing this?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was going to ask what she does in her spare time.
And at the gym when she isn't working or with the kids. So,
Oy.
this superwoman, Kim Ludeman, welcome to the show.
Oh my
Please
goodness,
put your
thank
cape
you.
down.
Ta-da.
It's so great to have you here. Oh my
Definitely.
goodness.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. It's such a privilege. Thank you.
Well,
It's a pleasure.
it's an absolute pleasure. In fact, somebody in the chat just said, "Can I have a fraction of your energy, please?" So,
Ditto.
but this is what happens, I think, when you don't carry around a lot of trauma. You can do other things instead, right?
Hmm. Or if you're
So,
running from it. But I mean, either way.
yes,
You're running
exactly.
with it or against it.
So, first of all, tell us what drew you to brain spotting? What What really inspired you about learning how to do this?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great question. So, I have been working with folks in a coaching capacity since 2009. I started as a personal trainer and found quickly in personal training that change was much more than just body oriented. And so then I thought, well, what's missing? So I brought in nutrition, thinking, okay, that's going to complete the puzzle.
Mhm.
And quickly found out a couple of years into that, that it was even more complex, that it was not just diet and exercise that was at play here. There was something else that was more mental, it was more spiritual than that. And so I was trying to figure it out for years. What was this missing piece? And one day, a friend of mine who is a wonderful therapist, she was like, "Hey, I learned this new technique. Let me try it out on you." And I was like, "All right, I'm game." And so she held up a pen and she had me look in different places. And I was completely baffled by what we were doing and didn't really think much of it. And so that night, I had the most intense dream about my family that I've
Oh my
ever had. And the
Really?
next night, I had another really intense dream about my family. And the next night, and then after that, I felt something shift. I couldn't
Mm.
tell you what it was. I just knew that something had shifted for me. And so I asked her what it was, and she said it was brain spotting. And so I got myself a brain spotting therapist and did it for a year before I started looking into getting trained myself as a coach. And as soon as I took my first training, I knew that this was the piece that had been missing, the piece that for years I had been searching for that was really going to help support people in the shifts that they were looking to make. So it was so exciting.
It is really powerful work. I
Mhm.
As a therapist myself for so many years, I have never seen anything like this. It's powerful, it's easy, and it gives you almost instant results.
Mhm.
I don't know anything else that can do that. There's, EMDR, tapping, somatic therapy, nothing comes close to brain spotting, in my opinion. Nothing.
Mhm. Yeah, and there are a lot of modalities that are incredible and that are very efficacious that work well for so many different people, and they all just have a slightly different bent or perspective to them. EMDR is fantastic for people with, very layered trauma
Mhm.
who really want a therapist to lead the process. Fantastic for that. Somatic experiencing really has a very almost spiritual um, sense to it. Tapping is very accessible, very easy to do. It's very,
Right.
very on the go. I think that that's very easy to access. And
Mhm.
brain spotting really is so fantastic, and I'm sure we'll talk about how it's used, but it just in its accessibility, it's client led, it's it's very efficient in how it's used. It's very quick, not only in session, but also cumulatively. It is very quick with the results that it garners, I think.
Definitely. That's been my
Yeah.
experience. It's just amazing. Now, there is a founder of this brain spotting. And when did he start this? When did he come up with this and begin this experience for everybody?
Yeah. So Dr. David Grand is the founder of Brainspotting. And about 20 years ago, he was doing EMDR with an ice skater, a professional ice skater. And they had been working together for, I think, over a year doing natural flow EMDR. And so they were in session and he had held his finger at a spot and her eyes wobbled. And so
Hmm.
rather than moving on, he was curious, which is the whole crux of brain spotting. He was curious about it. And so he held his finger there and he said, "Why don't you just stay here?" And so as she did, she kept her eyes on this position. She started processing material that she hadn't processed in session in the year and a half previous in weekly sessions. And
Uh-huh.
so she processed, and then it was over, and then they resumed session. And the thing that she had been trying to work on was this specific move. I think it was a triple axel, let's say. And she just was stuck. And that's what they had been working on. Literally the next day, she nails it.
It's incredible.
Hmm.
Nails it because performance blocks are rooted in trauma. And
Hmm.
so it was this eye position that allowed access to the stored trauma or the block. And when it was reprocessed and released, she was therefore able to do the thing that she was trying to do.
This is incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
really, and for an
Yes.
athlete to be able to make that change so quickly is amazing. But so do you have to really know what the trauma is, or can you just keep your eye in that position with your therapist and it releases and you may not ever know what the trauma exactly was?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And that goes to different parts of the brain, right? So we have our prefrontal cortex,
Mm,
which is where we have thought, language, and organization. And this really comes online for us as far as memory around age 3 or 4 for a lot of people. But
mhm,
we have experience before that. And so our body and our subcortical brain remember our experiences before that. And so you can have experiences that you can't put words to,
mhm,
but your body remembers. And so you may not know here what the trauma is or what the problem is, but your mind knows. And so you, to your point, you may never know what it is. It might show up in sensation, which is what a lot of the trauma that people process shows up as, is
mm,
sensation, because that's how our subcortical brain speaks. So this part again is language, thought, organization, right? How we're speaking now, words.
right,
But down here in this back part of the brain, it's sensation. It's how we sense in our bodies. It's smell. It's sometimes taste. It's hear. It's visual. And so as people are reprocessing, these are the different ways that they experience memory.
Hmm.
It's
fascinating.
fascinating.
Yeah, it's so great. So, tell us some of the stories of what you've seen happen, because 'cause you've been in practice for quite some time, so you must have seen some miraculous changes for people.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. There's a whole spectrum of shifts that people can experience, and there's some pretty wacky stuff that can happen. I like to say that brain spotting is part science, part woo. Um, and I definitely sometimes will ask folks, how much woo do you buy into? Because it does show up just so differently than we are used to processing. Um, I had one session where, so we use a pointer. Let me see if I've got mine handy. Let me see. Did I bring it? I thought it was here. No, hold on. I found it.
Okay.
So in session, to help folks find an eye position, a lot of times I'll use a pointer like this. And as people are staring directly at my pointer, I've had clients say, is this supposed to change? So a lot of times the pointer changes. So I've had clients report that they've seen faces of loved ones
Oh
here,
my.
or
Mhm.
sometimes my face moves and it will become the pointer. And I've had people report that this gets larger
Oh
or
my.
smaller, depending on, again, what they're processing. So that's a lot of times the pointer becomes a different shape, or sometimes
That's
it becomes
wild.
something. Yeah. I did have one session where a client was scared of the pointer because it became a monster.
Oh
Oh my
my.
gosh.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we did some resourcing to help with that. Um, so that was one. Um, Sometimes if a client has attachment issues, my face becomes the brain spot.
Oh
And so,
my.
yeah, so I've had my face turn into other people's faces, which that can be really interesting. And so we
Yeah.
just deal with that as it comes up. Um, Goodness, there's so many stories. I'm trying
Well,
to
I
even
know
think.
I was working with you one time and I saw the lightning strike
Mhm,
experience. Remember that? When I
mhm,
was a kid, which was not at all in my memory anywhere. I never knew that happened. And
mhm,
suddenly it came up. But then you said, I thought you said, oh, I saw that. I saw the lightning
mhm.
strike at the same time I did.
Yeah.
So, that's really incredible. And so let me ask you, how much does this work depend on your intuitive abilities? Because you're very intuitive. So how big of a part of your healing is involved in that?
Yeah, so attunement is a really big part of brain spotting practice. And attunement is the space that is held between client and practitioner. And it's a very active process. There's a neurobiological attunement that's happening. So my nervous system is tuned into your nervous system, which is a beautiful process because I'm regulated, which means that
Mhm.
you get to become dysregulated and borrow my regulation, which I just
Wonderful.
think is such a beautiful practice, and it's a privilege to be that scaffolding that someone can lean into.
Mhm.
Um, and that is such a beautiful part of attunement. And there's also a very relational attunement. I'm watching and I'm very aware of what my client is going through at any given moment. And the intuitive piece of that is not only tracking with someone, but it's also feeling what someone is feeling. And that I think is part being empathetic and empath, but it's also part of the attunement piece is a lot of times I will feel what someone feels before they know they feel it.
Yeah.
So my stomach might hurt, and then my client will be like, "Oh, my stomach really hurts." I'm like,
Mhm.
"Oh, well, there's that."
Yeah.
Or maybe my jaw, a lot of
Oh,
stuff in the jaw. Someone will
yep.
say, "I just have a lot of jaw pain." I'm like, "Mhm." Or I
Yeah.
have to tell myself to unclench my legs. A lot of
Mhm.
times with the seat, I
Mhm.
clench subconsciously, and so I have to tell myself to relax, and that's not mine.
Mhm.
Um, or just, my nervous system picks up a lot of what's happening on the other side. And so when it comes to intuition and knowing what frame setup to use, I think that's another big part. So when there's a topic that we are going to brain spot, there are
Mhm.
different frame setups that we can use, different ways that we can use the pointer, different ways of accessing brain spots. And so that also relies on my in not only training, but my intuition, knowing you as the
Right.
client, knowing your window of tolerance, knowing your capacity, and also leaning into what I feel could be most beneficial, staying curious with you and
Mhm.
trusting that. And also, you've experienced this as well. Sometimes mid processing, we switch. We
Yeah.
switch the way that we're doing things, and I might say, "You know what? Actually, we started here. I think we might need to try this instead."
Mhm.
So it's a lot of openness and curiosity too.
Yeah, it's wonder there's a nice variety of tools that you use as a therapist with this. And again, I'm mystified as to how quickly it works, how quickly it pulls things right out of your brain and things that you didn't necessarily know about or didn't
Mhm,
think were important, but all of a sudden from doing brain spotting, it's right in front of you and it's like it's out. It's coming
mhm,
out and it gets healed because I know you've talked about when things run in an incomplete loop, you can't complete it. So that adds to the trauma because you have this trauma signal going on and it just doesn't resolve.
yeah,
So this kind of work helps that to automatically resolve that loop so that you're
mhm,
not running it all the time and driving yourself crazy and getting yourself hyper vigilant and all of the things that we do when we're afraid. And we're
mhm,
just basically running an old program that needs to be resolved.
mhm. Yeah, and it can be programs that aren't even yours.
Yeah.
There's that, in this part of the brain, we don't have time. And
Mm,
so, that's where transgenerational trauma also can play a role. You can be experiencing a trauma that isn't even yours. I've
mhm.
had clients and I myself have experienced transgenerational trauma and reprocessed things that were not mine that I have.
How do you know that it's not yours? Because that's an interesting thing to have happen.
Mhm.
So how do you
Yeah,
separate it out?
yeah, that's great. I'll use my own experience just for keeping my clients' stories. I'm always a little bit hesitant to share my clients' stories just because they are theirs, so I'm
Mhm.
happy to share mine.
Okay.
Um, but I had one of my own brain spotting sessions because I do my own brain spotting work because I'm such a believer in it.
Mhm.
Um, I have a brain spot right down here that has particular trauma to it. And so one night I was working on that spot and there was um, a lot of choking
Mm.
sensation for me
Mhm.
and a lot of visuals of running and of being actually beaten. And
Oh,
so that,
awful.
yeah, it was awful. And our,
Mhm.
our minds hold so much and our bodies hold so much. But I have never in my life any experience of that. And so I did some research, talked to some family members, and it turns out that my grandmother actually had that experience.
Oh
So it was
my.
my mother's experience that I processed. My body held on to it because it was passed down. So my body was holding on to it. It was affecting me in my life. I didn't know it, but through brain spotting, I was able to reconsolidate that memory through the brain spotting, reprocess it, and release it.
Whew.
Yeah.
Love
So
that.
yeah, me too. Me too. So it is incredible work, incredible.
Yeah, because
And
that's
sometimes
it's
sorry.
intergenerational healing. I mean, that's very I mean, there's a lot being talked about now about that, but this gets you to it. I mean, really gets you to it right away.
Yeah.
So, hmm,
Well, and trauma is it's not just ethereal, it's physical. It's stored in our bodies and in our tissues. So it
mhm.
is quite literally passed down until someone reprocesses and releases that and it's actually released from the body. So it's incredible work to do and it's very powerful.
Now, do you find in your practice with your clients that when they release trauma, that they also start to feel physically better, that their physical symptoms start to improve or go away, anything like that?
They sure can. They sure
Mhm,
can. They don't always,
mhm.
and they absolutely can. Um, I don't wanna say absolutely, I wanna take that back because I know that physical sensations and physical ailments are so personal to every person that carries those and lives with those on a daily basis.
Mhm.
And there can be times where those are rooted in trauma, and so they are carried. And I have seen clients who have found relief to a point of physical symptoms. And I have also heard in our brain spotting community of people who have also received relief from the manifestation of the ailments as a result of
Mhm.
just how trauma has manifested in their systems.
That's wonderful.
How does
That
a
is
person,
a piece. Go ahead, DK.
I was going to say, how does a person know that they're in a position where they need this? Because
Mm.
this is new to me, and I'm looking at it and going, if is it something I need? Where do I look? Am I going to the past within me or a relative or what? So, what does one look for when they first come to you?
That's a great question. So, as a coach, I love to look forward. So,
Hmm.
with my clients, my first question is where do you want to go and what's stopping you from getting there? So,
Mm.
if you're not where you want to be in life,
Hmm.
that's where we start. If you're if you're working with a therapist or a counselor, you're going to be looking backwards, most likely. If
That's
you are
true.
stuck, or if you know there are places in my life where I really want to explore. Like I know that, in my childhood this was a barrier for me, this was a block, or I really want to work through childhood trauma. That is beautiful work to do with a therapist, beautiful work to do with a counselor. Um, and, if you find that that is something that's holding you back or keeping you stuck, or if you do have anxiety, depression, if you have physical ailments that you do feel could be related
Hmm.
to any kind of trauma that you've experienced, if you have experienced, a traumatizing experience. And, this might be a good time to kind of define what we mean when we say trauma, because trauma isn't what happens to us, it's how our body responds to an
Mhm.
event that
Right.
happened that was too much, too fast, too soon.
Hmm.
And it can also be the absence of something that we needed. So I like to use the example of a little person falling off their bike.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Maybe you fell off your bike and a parent told you, "Ah, brush it off." Or maybe there was no parent. And so you were hurt and scared, and it was overwhelming for you because you fell off your bike and you were just left alone. And you weren't supported, you weren't seen, you weren't held, you were just left. And your brain will keep like Patricia said, keep an open loop of that because it wasn't closed, because it's just open.
Hmm.
And so the trauma of that could be that anytime you have a similar sensation that feels like I'm not held, I'm not cared for, I'm not supported, I'm not seen, it could go all the way back to that bike accident. Even
Mhm.
if you're in
Yeah.
your later life, it could go all the way
Hmm.
back there. So, I mean, to kind of answer your question, it's for everybody, really.
Hmm.
Anybody that isn't where they want to be in their life or feel like there's something that's holding you back.
Many times people don't even realize that there's something there. So, how do you process that out? How do we pull that out to put it on the table to fix it?
Yeah, and that's the beauty of brain spotting, is that we don't even need to know why something is, just that it is.
Hmm.
So, just knowing that there's something that just isn't quite right. So, we don't have to know that it was the bike accident. We just need to know that there's a sensation, like there's something off.
Hmm.
So, I have a lot of clients with anxiety. I think that's the biggest feeling that a lot of people are walking around with, is this pervasive sense of just fear and like what ifs that
Hmm.
kind of live inside, and that
Mhm.
shows as like a lot of pressure on the chest. And
Mhm.
so if we start there, or if you have, those what ifs, well, what do you notice when you ask this question? And a lot of this work is connecting to the body sensations that come up around a lot of the thoughts. So we have a lot of thoughts, but we get really good at disconnecting from the body sensations. And that's the secret sauce, is what is happening for you and your body. And so helping people reconnect with their bodies and start to decode and understand what the sensations mean, and then reprocessing those and releasing the ones that are no longer helpful, and kind of closing those loops so that
Mhm.
that way those open loops aren't the ones that are running the show. And that kind of gets into parts work and kind of IFS territory too.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Interesting.
it's fascinating. There's, someone in the chat
Definitely.
who said, "I have anxiety, depression, and physical ailments I am sure are tied into that, but cannot think of anything from my past that would be causing it. I wasn't always like this that I can remember."
Yeah. Yeah, and that, it could, if you don't have like a cognitive memory of it, it could be that it's pre-cognitive memory. It might be pre-verbal,
Mhm.
that it goes back all the way. We don't know always the root of these causes. It's just that you've gotten to a point where coping doesn't work anymore. And
Mm.
so now you have anxiety, depression, physical ailments, and you don't know why. And we don't need to necessarily know why something is, but we know that it is. And
Yes,
so we can
exactly.
start to explore why this is via just that it is. So we go to what we know. We have anxiety, we have depression, we have physical ailments, and start to explore and stay curious about those things and reconnect with the body sensations of it. So I always, with anxiety, again, kind of, what does anxiety feel like? Does it have a place that it lives in your body? When
Mhm.
you feel anxious, how does it feel? And so spending time really orienting to that in the body. Because a lot of times we'll label things anxiety, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's sadness,
Mhm.
sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's longing, it's grief, it can be many other things, but we kind of put labels on it. So it's also an exploration too, and it's learning how to widen our vocabulary too. So it's a whole process, and that's kind of the coaching that I do too, is
Mm.
really helping people become more aware of their inner worlds, and really helping give more language to what people are experiencing. And that is so important. Brené Brown wrote a fabulous book called Atlas of the Heart a few years ago, and it's
That sounds lovely.
beautiful. It's beautiful, and it's a glossary, and she goes through and defines some of the commonly used words that we have, and she gives great definitions, and like when we would use different words like overwhelmed or depressed or anxious or grief, loss, longing. She just defines it so beautifully. And I think that that's what I try to help folks do as well, is give more of a glossary for how we're experiencing the world.
Mm. We need that. We do.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Now, one of the other things that I found amazing about brain spotting is capacity. So talk to us about capacity. That's a really interesting topic.
Yeah. So capacity is our ability to hold something. And
Mhm.
we often, as people, want more good, to say it bluntly. We want more health, wealth, we want more happiness, more presence, we want more confidence, we
Mhm.
want more of the good stuff.
Right.
And
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
You.
I know I do, for sure. The the tricky part to that is that our ability to hold those things is directly related to our ability to hold the bad stuff or the uncomfortable things. So we can only hold as much happiness as we can sadness. We can
Uh-huh.
only hold as much comfort as we can discomfort because we can't have, it's been said, light without dark. You can't have
Mhm.
all light with no dark. If we want to have all these things, but we don't want to experience pain, it doesn't work that way. So if we're suppressing all of our anger, our sadness, our grief, all of our pain, and we're trying to have these other feelings, we will not be successful
Mhm.
because we don't have capacity. And so, brain spotting is a beautiful practice of expanding our capacity to hold all of these amazing things we want, but also to be able to tolerate the things that we don't want to feel. And so, it's amazing to watch my clients who they start out with a very small capacity to sit with discomfort. And as we go, their capacity grows larger and larger and larger, and they can tolerate so much more discomfort. Because brain
Mhm.
spotting doesn't take away discomfort, but it really helps hold space for it. I was telling my kids this afternoon, my son was telling me, he's like, your job is to help people feel better. And I said, ooh, not necessarily. My job is actually to help people feel worse. And he's like, "What?" And he's 11, he's adorable. I was like, "Yeah, I help people feel bad, kind of." I help people experience the emotions they don't want to experience because I help provide a space where it's okay to do that. I think a lot of times we don't have safe spaces because we were taught that anger is bad, that
Mhm.
sadness is weakness, or that's bad. We're not supposed to feel sad, or we're not supposed to feel grief. Grief is bad, or we're not supposed to feel rage. That all of these emotions are somehow bad. And so we try to minimize them or suppress them. But in so doing, we also minimize our ability to hold confidence and happiness and joy and presence. We can't you can't have it both ways. And so
Mhm.
brain
Right.
spotting really is a great resource for expanding capacity for these amazing emotions and really helping you become such a holistic vessel for them. And it gives you more of a grounded sense of being, and just is such a, I feel like, a healthier way of moving through the world because we're not just focused on feeling good. That's fantastic and yay when we can, but it's also, hey, I was able to sit through these waves of discomfort and here I am. I'm still here. I did that, and we can clap and cheer that you were able to move through these waves of discomfort rather than dissociating, rather than minimizing or running away or pretending like it's not real or there for you. You were able to acknowledge that
Mm.
these things are real, and it didn't kill you.
Right.
It didn't.
Well
I think it feels that way
well,
sometimes.
also, a lot of people think that their, anger is something they should hang on to for days and days, and no, it isn't, right? Because didn't you we were talking about this, healthy feeling is 90 seconds?
90 seconds. Mhm.
90
Yeah,
seconds,
so
that's it, folks. If you're holding
it's
on to it longer than 90 seconds, you're going down the wrong road.
well, everything is in
Mm.
waves, right? We have brain waves, and so
Mhm.
we process emotions in waves. And so you start at the bottom, and the wave of emotion crests at 90 seconds, and then it drops. And so at the bottom of that 90 seconds, you have a choice. You can keep feeling the way you're feeling. That's your choice, absolutely. But you can also choose a different feeling. You have the choice. And sometimes, I know for me, sadness is one that I avoid so much because I feel like, oh, this sadness is going to last forever. But I have to remind myself 90 seconds, Kim, hang in there for 90 seconds and then you can choose. And sometimes I choose to keep feeling sad because once I'm in it, I'm like, oh, I'm so sad. I'm just going to keep feeling sad. And it feels good to feel sad. So now I'm just going to keep feeling sad and I'll ride those waves like a surfer. And
Good
then
for you.
sometimes I'm like, you know what? I'm done being sad now.
Mhm.
Now I'm going to feel something else. And I'll
Right.
make a choice to shift it and I'll feel something else. So it's 90 seconds of those waves. And in session is amazing because you can feel them. I can see them when clients are writing them.
Mm.
It's wild how the
Yeah.
brain works.
Well, and if we watch
Amazing.
children, they change like that, it's like one
Yes.
minute they're crying
Yeah,
and
they
the
do.
next minute they're laughing, and so they are riding the waves of healthy 90-second feelings.
Yeah.
So we could learn a lot from that. Yeah, 'cause when we can't let it go or we can't process it, thoroughly, then we do hang on to it, and
Yeah.
it'll come back up at the earliest inconvenience. There it is again.
Yes.
Keyword
Yeah.
inconvenience, right?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, especially grief. Grief's the worst at that. It'll
yeah,
just pop in there so fast.
yep,
Yeah, it does. But
mhm,
if you expand your capacity for it and you have learned how to ride those waves, when it does come up, you know, and you've experienced it enough that you're like, okay, here we go. I'm just going to ride the wave. Yep, there it goes. Okay. Whew. Maybe you cry, maybe you breathe, maybe you move, you learn techniques because I teach a lot of coping skills and how to move with emotions. And okay, we're doing this, and there it goes. Okay. Whew, whew. Shake it
yeah,
off. Okay, there it
yeah,
goes.
all better. Yep,
Mhm.
Amazing. Amazing to see just the progression of this thing that I'm afraid of. So I'm going to go do these other things to avoid it, to I'm going to I'm just going to
be with
write
it.
it,
Yeah, just
be
be
with
with it.
it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because otherwise you're gonna create a level of weight and blame, because if you don't wanna see how you are in it, then it's everybody else's fault, and
Mm,
that's a real problem too, because
mm,
And the
that
usual, oops,
drives
oh,
other
excuse me.
people away.
Mhm.
You don't get to experience yourself and how you are manifesting this, you are creating this. Give your power away by blaming other people, and blame is a big deal. It really
Mhm.
takes a lot of things away from you, so yeah, sometimes other people do things you don't like, but to get stuck in that blame cycle is very destructive, right?
Mhm. Well, it's the
mhm.
very thing we do with children when they hurt themselves or there's something off key. We tell them to get up, suck it up, buttercup type thing, and get on
Oh,
with
yeah.
it. And yet we
Mhm,
don't do it for ourselves.
mhm.
Mhm, mhm. Yep. Yeah. My parents' Hallmark line was, "Well,
Yeah.
what did you," and then the finger gets pointed, and it was always
Mhm.
so sometimes I catch myself with my own children, like, "Well," and I'm like, "But
But
it's
it's
not about
easy to do
assigning
that.
blame
Yeah.
because it doesn't serve anybody. What's the point? Wouldn't it
Right.
be so better to take radical responsibility
Mhm.
and to just who cares whose fault it
Yeah,
is?
yeah.
Honestly, who cares? And we
Mhm.
wanna hold on to that because we feel like it's justifying how we feel, and it's really I promise you it's not. It's holding you hostage in a victim state, and victim
Yes.
states are so disempowering. I can't think of anything, like you said, Patricia, that will take your power away so quickly as
Mhm.
blame.
Yeah,
Instead, what is my role in
Mm.
this? What can I do to shift? What can I do to change? That that's empowering. It's
yeah.
hard to do
Mhm.
and choose your hard. what's harder, to hold on to that disempowerment, or to make that hard, like kind of shutting down the ego and like, okay, this was mine. Here's my role in this.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
Yeah.
about worthiness? Do we have to feel worthy to be able to do that? Because many times we don't trust or feel that we are
Mm.
worthy to make that change or to use what's available to us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. And that does play a role. I think you're right. In inherent worthiness and having that value, and that is a certain level of self-esteem there too.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think that that's a beautiful part of the work, is developing that and knowing, okay, I am worthy of taking this responsibility, and I am worthy of not having to be in this state
Mhm.
of victim. And I can, you know, I do have the power, I do have the ability. And that's why working with a coach, a therapist, a counselor is invaluable.
Mm.
Invaluable. If you're feeling stuck in any way, shape, or form, don't don't spend one more minute there. It's just not your life is way too short to spend in that place of not feeling worthy of living your absolute life to its fullest, and to living a life that you love, where you are being you bravely. And this is what my whole podcast is about, is being yourself bravely. How do you do that practically?
Mhm.
And this is, again, why I love brain spotting so much, because it really is empowering, and it does work on that soul level. And that's where that woo comes in, is giving people that ability to feel worthy, and to feel more in touch with themselves, and increasing compassion. I think that that's really what we're talking
Mm.
about, is
Yes.
self-compassion.
Yeah, that's a good point because a lot of us, we grew up in dysfunctional families. I always
Mhm.
remember that cartoon where there's one person sitting in the audience, and it was a meeting for adult children of functional parents.
Was there anybody there?
That's funny.
So we all have this, this most of us do anyways, this horror we have to undo. But
Mhm.
it can be done, and it can be done so easily with
Mhm.
brain spot. I
Mhm.
also remember you talking about something so fascinating, Kim, where you don't have to do anything. Like,
Mhm.
I'm a doer, I'm like, "Okay, what do I have to do next? Okay, now what?"
Mhm.
And you were reminding me, you don't have to do anything. It just happens. It
Yeah.
happens as you put your attention on it, and you don't even know if it's a specific event or not, doesn't matter. The attention's on the pointer, and your body is doing the work without you in some
Mhm.
ways. You don't have to consciously force it. You don't have
Mhm.
to do anything. And I think you used a wonderful description too. What did you say? It's like your brain goes in there into all those little catalogs and starts reorganizing it all
Yeah.
by itself. What could
Yeah.
be really? What could be easier?
Yeah. It really is. It's simple, in its approach. It really is. There's not, and I'm a fellow doer. I wanna just, roll up my sleeves, get in there, I'll do it. And it really is just allowing. That's the
Yes.
work, is allowing
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
noticing, and that's all. And there's no homework, there's no integration work that you need to do after. It's just your self-healing capabilities are so incredible, and
Mhm.
we're just tapping into it. Neuroscience is so it's we're just on the cutting edge of all of this. We're, how do you study emotions? How do you study any all these brain processes? How it's still so new. And so,
Mhm.
we're still learning so much, but we know that we have this beautiful built-in self-healing capability, and that if we just set up these parameters, that your mind can do incredible things. And I have such a strong belief in my client's ability to heal, and
Mm,
that really it is just about showing up, noticing, and staying curious, and that will work wonders. It really does. And
that,
it's,
yeah.
it's an attitude, it's a posture of coming in curiosity. And it's not, that's the foundation of brain spotting, is the uncertainty principle. We cannot know what is in someone else's head. So I
Mhm,
refuse to project what I think is going on. I might offer if asked, or if I again intuit something, I might at the end of a session say, "Hey, here's a thought. Maybe take it with a block of salt, a giant block of sea salt, because it's just an idea
mhm,
based on, what some really, really smart people other than me have said. Maybe. But I don't claim to know anything, and I refuse to project. And
mhm,
I will always stay curious with you. We're doing this thing together. So it's not like I hold the answers and I'm holding out on you.
mhm.
Your brain is the expert in the room, and we're just going to follow it where it goes, and it's going to go exactly where it needs to. Like you said, it opens the filing cabinet, does the memory reconsolidation work,
Yeah,
reprocesses, releases, like
mhm,
in session and also cumulatively. So even if something isn't resolved in a session, 2 sessions, 3 sessions, cumulatively, there is resolution that can be achieved. It's just the allowing and the curiosity that are the keys. And
right. Now, is there any age limit on how old you have to be before you can do brain spotting? I mean, do you have to be 8 or 9 or 10 or any age? How do you do that?
no, you can use brain spotting. I mean, there is brain spotting with animals, there's brain spotting with children, like
Oh,
babies. Yes. I've used it
no
with my own
kidding.
kids. Mhm. Yeah.
Wow.
Kids are actually quick brain spotters. It's incredible. They're so fast. It's
Wow.
amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, they're
So
really fast.
with babies, how do you do it with babies? So you just hold the pointer when you
Yeah.
notice eyes are wobbling or you're getting a different type of reaction
Mhm.
Yeah,
until the body calms down. Okay.
there's physiological cues that indicate processing, and so you follow the physiological cues until there's resolution, or there's a lowering of activation, and it's quick. It's quick with children. It
What
doesn't take
about animals? Now everybody in the chat wants to know about animals. How do you do this? I'm gonna do this with my dog tonight. Okay, what do you do?
That's a really good question, and I do not work with animals, so
Mm,
I am not the person to ask. I'm so sorry to disappoint. I do not know about animals. I just know that there are people who do.
so it's the same technique, but you're watching for some anomaly in the
I
way that
believe
you're following the
sure that
point.
there is, that it's very I'm sure it's very similar,
Yeah.
but it is I've heard and seen it. I'm sorry, I haven't seen it, but I've seen people in the community who are doing this with animals.
Does
That's
it matter whether your animal's spoiled or not?
Maybe, I don't know.
Just a thought.
my animal isn't really an animal, so,
No,
he's
it's a purple. It's a person.
oh, goodness. This is great. I had no idea that you could work with babies this way and with animals. This is incredible.
Mhm. Mhm.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
universal healing technique, and my god, I'm so grateful that you are with us tonight, that you've been with us this whole hour, just
Mhm.
learning so much, and, I mean, I was thinking it's kinda making me giggle inside, years ago, when I was a counselor, we used to get out those soft Bataka bats. Do you remember those? And
Mm-mm.
they were like styrofoam bats, and people would
Oh.
come in with big anger, and you'd hand them a Bataka bat and say, "There's a beanbag chair, have at it." And they would
Mhm.
just beat the crap out of the beanbag chair. And of course, the one thing they did learn is that there's a beginning and an end to the anger. So that was helpful. But now, looking back on it, researchers are saying they actually made things worse.
Yeah. As we said, I don't
Good
think
job.
I don't know if that's the prescribed route any longer, but I mean, for some
Exactly.
people, yeah.
I liked I thought the Bataka Pass were great, but but I can see how it really did make things worse in a number of ways. So I'm glad we've evolved in the therapeutic community.
And
I
it
bet
always
Kim
is.
is
It's
too.
always evolving and always shifting, and we're learning more and more. And I think that's the best part of it is just that there's always new information, always new techniques and modalities. And, I wouldn't stand here and say brain spotting is the best and the only. I would
Mhm,
say it's the one that I have gravitated toward and that I love, that I
mhm,
have a darling friend who is, certified in somatic experiencing, and she loves somatic experiencing for her clients. I have friends who do EMDR and they swear by EMDR. So
mhm.
really it's just finding the modality that fits for you. And
Exactly.
I think that that's the most important thing, is finding the modality that works for you, the practitioner that works for you, so, and if it doesn't work for you, it's not a personal failing. It just means that that's maybe not the right person or the right modality. Some people
Right.
do brain spotting and they are like, "Ooh, we sit in silence? Oh, we know likely sit in
That's
silence."
right.
Right. Or some people do EMDR and they're like, "We're doing this? No, we don't want that." Or, tapping. Like, I did tapping and I hated it. It's not
Yeah.
for me. I don't love it.
Right.
And some people love it. So it's experimenting and, being a little bit patient, trying
Mhm.
different things. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean that anything is inherently wrong. It just is finding the right fit for you.
Yeah,
That's
that
the
makes a
most
lot.
important part.
Yeah,
Mhm.
makes
Exactly.
a lot of sense. Oh my goodness. Now tell us all how we can get a hold of you, your website.
Yeah, so kimludeman.com is my website. That's where there's a link to my podcast on there.
Mhm.
There's also a video of me doing a brain spotting session. So I was fortunate enough to have a volunteer um, that was very verbal. So I found that to be really helpful. So she's
Yes.
explaining what's happening on her end while we're doing brain spotting. So it's not every session is unique, but this one is a great example of what a brain spotting session could look like. So that's also on the homepage of the website. It explains what brain spotting is and what it's used for. So that's a great resource. Brainspotting.com is also a wonderful resource. There's a whole directory of other practitioners. You can find therapists, licensed massage therapists, you can find counselors, social workers. There is a whole slew of people. If you need to use insurance, psychologytoday.com, you can search by your insurance, you can search by modality. So you could search brain spotting, EMDR, EFT. You can even search by topic, what they work with. So that is a wonderful resource as well. Like I said, I'm a coach, so I am private pay. I don't work with insurance. So I know that's a limiting factor for a lot of people. So I definitely want to make sure that everybody knows about psychologytoday.com, because that is a great resource as
Yes.
well. So, yeah,
Good
I think those.
Wonderful.
information.
Yes.
Very
So
good information, dear.
it's fantastic. So, Kim, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This went way too fast. As always, this is what happens
Yes, it does.
when we have a great guest and a fabulous topic. But thank you so, so much for joining us tonight. I know
Yeah.
we're going to hear more from our audience as they continue to
Definitely.
listen as we move forward. So, okay, everybody, we'll have to wrap. And thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week with another great show. And until then, we will see you on the Blue Highway. Good night.